Welcome to the Heart for God podcast. With many years of experience pastoring and helping to start churches, Dr. Jim Townsley has some practical and biblical advice that can be a great help to you and your ministry. On this podcast, Dr. Townsley and other guests with special expertise cover a variety of topics. His goal is to help you lead your church to be a healthy, strong, and balanced ministry, and for your family to be happy, healthy, and living for the Lord.
Hey, welcome to today's podcast, Heart for God. I hope you're having a good day, good week, a good year. I have a series of things I'm going to cover that I really think might be helpful to your church. That one of the things that I do when I go out to churches, do a review, is I have certain things that I cover that really, there's so many aspects to building a church, and it takes a lot of time to cover all these things. That usually I'll spend 12 to 14 hours with the pastor just going over these things. Some of the things the church is doing, many things church is doing right, and yet there are holes, there are things that are not being done, or there are things they don't see. You get used to seeing certain things, doing certain things, and you're not really aware that it could be better. But my overall goal when I try to help churches is not to say, well, we'll help you increase your attendance. Well, church is going to grow. It's going to be bigger. You have more money. That's really not my approach. My approach is trying to make the church healthy as possible. And whatever you do, to do it the best possible way for the church to be effective. And when I see a healthy church, one of the things that I think is a glaring issue is it is difficult to get people saved, become part of the church, get baptized, and be discipled. That takes a lot of effort. Now, you may get people saved going door to door, or people you meet, someone at work, they pray, they hopefully got saved. But to get them to win someone to Christ, for them to become a part of the church and follow through with discipleship, that's a process. And I think a healthy church should look like this. If you were in the pulpit, you look over your congregation and you ask yourself, all right, who has been saved in the last year? Who's sitting here in the pew that was saved? Who has been baptized over the course of this year? Now, hopefully there are children that have gotten saved and are baptized, but there should also be adults that are being reached. So you ask yourself, who is out here that was saved over the last year? Who is saved within the last 2 years or the last 5 years? There should be people sitting there that you have won to Christ on purpose through your ministry, you personally or someone in your church, soul winner or friend or family member, but you have helped someone come to Christ. They're coming to church faithfully. They're growing in the Lord. They got baptized. They become a member. And you should be able to see people in the auditorium. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting transfers, people joining the church. There's some people that need to leave churches that they're in. They're not strong or fundamentally sound. And so getting transfers is not a bad thing, but not getting new converts is not a good thing. There should be people saved recently, within the last year, 2 years, 5 years, and there should be people coming that this family's coming, but they're still not saved. This person, we're praying for them. This teenager, we're praying for them. They're not saved, but they're coming. A healthy church will have that quality, and certainly that is our goal. But I broke this down into 4 categories of things to help the church be healthy. And I don't want to diminish all-night prayer meetings, spirituality. The healthier and more spiritual Christians are, members are in the church, the healthier that church will be and the more effective, the more likely, more growth, more better offerings, more missions, more young people surrendering to the ministry. But there are organizational and structural things that are really, really important. So there's buildings and grounds, which is important. If you're building shabby, if it's not safe, if it doesn't look sharp, that's an issue. There's administration and organization. And I hear often preachers will say, I'm not very good at administration. I understand that, but there are things that are necessary in pastoring the church. And if you need help, you can delegate some things that other people can help with administration. And then outreach and growth, which I want to talk about today. By outreach and growth, obviously it involves missions and distributing tracts and numerous things. But again, as I sort of led into this podcast with this idea that the outreach and growth should mean new converts added to the church, growing in Christ and being discipled. And we're going to talk about that today. And the fourth area is preaching, teaching, and discipleship. So let's get started. A healthy church has a plan for outreach and evangelism. Think about this. If every member, reached one person a year, discipled them, helped them get baptized, and they are coming faithfully to church, that church, if you could do that, would be written up in every Christian periodical. It would create a buzz across the nation. And yet that seems like such a simple thing that is not far-reaching. It doesn't seem like it's impossible, but it doesn't happen. And why doesn't it happen? Well, the reason, if you summarize it all together, there's a lot of reasons, but there aren't enough strong believers, mature believers in the church that are really serious and committed about reaching the lost. Now, they may be supportive of reaching the lost. They may give to missions and, they want to see people saved, but that it takes strong believers to make that happen. And if you had just a few people, even sometimes one or two people that were really committed to do this, you would be seeing converts sitting in the pew and seeing the church increase or grow. So it is realistic to think this is a target for our church. Here's a goal for our church. I want to get more people to that point that they are going to be better witnesses and spiritual type of people if somebody is not very strong spiritually, do you really want them to disciple someone? Do you want other people, new believers, to look like that person that's immature or carnal, perhaps, or a babe in Christ? I don't think so. So you want to create that core of people that really get a hold of this. And I think it's important to do everything you can, as much as you can, as long as you can. If it works, if it's effective, then you should do it. Different areas respond differently. New York City is not the same as Southern Indiana or Missouri. California is not the same. In fact, in New England, the inner cities of the big cities is different than the suburbs. Within 15 miles, there could be a big difference. So every place is unique, but a lot of things are similar in reaching the lost. Obviously, the gospel is the same wherever you go, and people have to respond to the gospel. But one of the things that was coined several years ago was a term, saturation evangelism. And again, that means you're doing everything you can to get the gospel out. It could be radio, it could be television, it could be tract distribution, books, mission support, church planting, one-on-one, friend day, special days at church. I mean, just your social media, your website, all those things are things that can be done that may be effective. And the low-hanging fruit is the ones that are most successful at getting people there. And people in the church need to develop a 24/7 soul-winning attitude, that you're praying every day, Lord, lay some soul in my heart. Is there someone that would come across my path? Help me to find someone I can witness to. Could be at work, could be with your family, could be casual acquaintances, could be at a checkout counter, but it should become a way of life for every member, having that attitude. Now, one of the things I want to point out, I ask this question when I go to a new church, and it's not a questionnaire: is your church friendly? In every case, a church says, yes, our church is friendly. But that means different things to different people. So what does it mean in your church? Are people friendly with one another? Are people conscious when someone walks in the door that is new? They've never been there before. Someone aware of that? Do they see them in the parking lot? As they come in the door, is there someone aware of it? Do people notify the pastor and say, there's someone new here? And without being too, without being obnoxious or over empowering, you don't want to ask too many questions, but you find out, are you from the area? Is your first time here? Basic questions. And are there people where or near that person sits that begins talking with them, befriends them? Is there a plan to follow that person up? Does a pastor, do you contact that person? Do you tell them as they leave, here's my phone number, it's my cell number. If I can help you, would you let me know? I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. So that the people that walk in the church are the best contacts you'll ever get. You could knock on 100 doors and not get as good a contact as that person that walks in the door. They came to your church for a reason. Now, they might have come to satisfy a friend or family member, but they came, and they are there for a reason. And so it's really important to capture them and let them see the love of Christ in you, to start immediately develop a relationship, let them have a good feeling, a good experience from being there. Now, here's a tough one. Ask yourself this question. If there's someone with a teenager, even if it's a missionary family visiting with teenagers, and someone walks in the door, they're a teenager with another family, do your teens, is there anyone in the teen group that goes to them, that's looking for them on every service? They're looking for someone like that, and go introduce themselves and befriend them, offer to sit with them or for them to sit with them. That's a pretty tough thing. I guess everybody experiences a certain click. We're happy to see our friends, and it's good to have friends. Teens in particular, that's a real challenge. Plus, some are very awkward about meeting new people, but that is a powerful thing. If there's a teenager that's looking for someone that's new coming in the door and befriending them, just think about it. Teens are willing to go door to door. They hang door hangers. They may even witness to people or hand out flyers or brochures. And they can do that with very little results. Very seldom do they see someone coming to church as a result. Maybe in the bus ministry they do, but generally, no. But here's someone who walks right in the door of the church. They're there for a reason. What teenager goes to them and befriends them? Now, developing a church that has this philosophy and attitude takes a long time. It takes instruction. We actually practice greeting people. We usually did it on a Sunday night or Wednesday night. And every time before we did it, I explained to people, here's what we want to do. You introduce yourself, give your name, all the simple details. Don't overpower them. Don't prod. If they're not talkative, don't prod. Just tell them you're there. If they have any questions, you're happy to help. share your songbook. If they don't have a Bible, your Bible. I mean, there are things you can do. So we would give some instruction like that. And they would actually have people practice. They would go around the room and introduce themselves and practice doing it. And it's kind of funny. It's like growing up on the farm, we raised chickens. It's like opening the door of the chicken house. Everybody's going crazy. They're laughing. They're enjoying meeting their friends for the most part. And then the next Sunday, they forget all about it. It's like you didn't say anything. But you do it again, and you do it again, you do it again. That's how church can be trained to be friendly, to be conscious. And we reached a point where I made it clear, if there's a visitor, there's someone new, and you're talking to me, I will stop talking to you in mid-sentence to go meet that new person. And people respected that. They knew that. They said, oh, okay, Pastor, I realize that person's new. You need to talk to them. So there really needs to be a good plan, not just to say our church is not unfriendly, but has an active plan of how to approach those people that come into the church. And I just can't stress enough how valuable that is for the church to grow and to see people saved. And many of those people that walk in the door may not be saved. So you don't want to miss that opportunity. And then the church needs a database that you can have a database on Excel, or there are a number of things. There's church software, but you need a usable form that anyone that you get a prospect name, a visitor, someone comes to an event, someone maybe in your Christian school, someone gives you their name to follow up, and you keep them on that database unless they die, move out of the area, or join another church. Keep them on that database. And that database, you can email, you can direct mail, you can, if you have their phone number, you can text them. And every event that's coming up, you can keep that contact with them so they keep hearing from you. They hear what you're doing. They hear what's going on. And so that's a crucial thing, that you keep that up. And so every prospect ought to be on a usable database and ought to be kept up to date. Young couples and children we don't have as many per capita of our churches, I don't believe. And there has to be an emphasis to get young couples and children. A lot of young people are delaying getting married, if they get married at all. And that means there's fewer babies and fewer children. But you need to do things that will reach them. Vacation Bible School, backyard Bible clubs, or special events, a Saturday bounce house, or fall festival, different things like that. There are things that you can do to attract children, maybe music, or having children perform music and their grandparents come. Or if you don't have children, do things that children can associate with, things that would be of interest to the children. So there are things that you can do to reach children. That a church that doesn't reach children gets old, and eventually the church dies. So it is important. You can mail books to every resident. We've mailed direct mail, a booklet of 35 pages to every mailbox in our town and every town that touches our town. 150,000 went out. And I think we mailed another 50,000 more, a second book. And we had people saved as a result of it. I mean, it cost some money, but it was all bulk mail. It wasn't as expensive as we thought. During COVID, we did it for about 50 cents for the book, the postage, the envelope to go in, the bookmark, and now it's probably 70 or 80 cents. This is 2026, so we haven't done it in a couple years now, but that was very effective, and we had numerous people saved, people in church coming faithfully to every service. So it can be done. The bus ministry is a great outreach program. It's not for everybody, and you got to remember it takes workers, And it's good for workers to be able to do that, but it's a big responsibility. There's maintenance to the vehicles unless you can rent them at a reasonable rate. You may have to have drivers. Things are more difficult than they were 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. It was a different world. But the bus ministry or van ministry can be very effective in reaching new people. Teens are so important because they are at that age, they are old enough to understand spiritual things, but they're young enough that they can be easily influenced. And so teens can be a great outreach for a church, and emphasizing activities and doing things that appeal to them, getting them involved. It could be a simple thing like we're going to have volleyball, some snacks, and devotions. It doesn't take a lot. You could do that through the summer. So again, the teens are really, really an important way. And by the way, teenagers have parents that are interested in what their teenagers are doing. And so you're not just reaching teenagers, you're going to reach the parents too. If you love their children, then they'll love you. Sunday school, so important. Every age group needs to be emphasized, and adult classes are so important. I think that some of the events in the church can be very, very vital for outreach. Food and children, maybe music, all those things can bring people in to the church and get new contacts. Special days, flyers, social media, emails, texting, all those things can be helpful in promotion. And I remember what I said, saturation evangelism, you do everything you can, as much as you can, for as long as you can. And some of the other things that we've done that were very good, very profitable for us, a baby day, children's day, children's programs, Saturday fun day, bounce house, things like that, fall festival, special meals and banquets. It could be an Easter breakfast, a senior meal. 4 times a year, we have a special meal after morning service. We do 4 times a year special fellowships on a Sunday night to build a Sunday night crowd. That is always a great thing. We've done pizza, ice cream. We have done a Hawaiian luau in January, sort of tongue-in-cheek, but that's been a big winner. In the fall, near Halloween time, we have cider and donuts, and that's been a big thing. We do that every year. So there are things that you can do to promote and talk about and encourage people to come. So if somebody comes to your church and it doesn't look like anything's going on, I mean, what effect does that have on them? But when they realize, oh, there's stuff going on here, they're doing this and that's of interest. So that's important. And by the way, you can put that on your website. The website is an absolute must today, and it needs to work properly. You need all the right information on it. It needs to be usable. Incorporating video testimonies can be very, very effective. Remember, that's the primary way people will find you. If you live stream your services, they may actually watch your services for weeks before they even visit. And so that website is really important. And its goal is to welcome, inform, and attract visitors. And if you have a banner with all the that you can change as new events come up, that's far better than putting on a calendar that doesn't have any dates except the main services. So having a banner, this is the upcoming thing. This month, this is the big thing. And so you can keep that up to date more easily. But someone needs to keep it up to date. If somebody goes on your website and they say, wait a minute, this was 2 years ago. Why do they have that on their website? So it really needs to be kept up to date. The pastor's pictures, bio, that should be included. Now, people want to know about what kind of church this is, kind of the history of the church. So that's not a place to cut corners. Well, these are things I could talk about for a long, long time, but just to give you some idea how important your outreach is, and your goal is to see people sitting in the pew that you've won to Christ, that are growing in the Lord, have followed the Lord in baptism, have become part of the church, and training some key people that are good, godly people to help disciple others and reach others. Well, hopefully these are some things that will be of value to you and helpful in your church to see it grow, be strong, and be healthy.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, consider sharing it with a friend. You can also follow at Dr. Townsley on Twitter or on Facebook at Jim Townsley.